and welcome to 100 Theatre Women, Vlog 4, number 76 to 100. With a tiny few tacked on the end. Yeah. Number 76 is Dame Ninette de Valois. I chose her because I've been researching this period, and I've been researching her work, and the work she did with Lillian Bayliss, who is another one of our 100 Theatre Women, and just her kind of extraordinary tenacity, her ambition, her vision for the company and for the training of British ballet. She's every single thing she did, actually not every single thing obviously, but most of what she did I think is admirable, ambitious, tenacious, and I thought she should definitely be on the list for her contribution to our national ballet.
My next choice on the 100 Theatre Women was Mona Bruce. Mona Bruce used to tour with my mum, who was an actress, and her name was Pauline Lettice Yates, and this is her trunk, which we've been sitting in. They were on the road in the 50s, and Mona became my godmother. She was a fantastic, strong, complex performer. She was underrated, I think, very much, but she taught me that even though sometimes you're not working, because women often aren't, that you have to be ready and prepared for when you do.
Then my next choice was the American actress and playwright and suffragist, Elizabeth Robins. Now, if you Google Elizabeth Robins, you will find out a lot more than I can say. The reason I chose her, she was one of the founding members of the Women Writers' Suffrage League, which was the sister league to the Actresses Franchise League. If you Google Elizabeth Robins and way stations, you'll come across a lot of her writing. She is lucid, she is pragmatic, she is emotive, she is persuasive, she uses language beautifully, and her experiences as an actress, she was, I think, the first person to play Hedda Gabler in London and on Broadway. She championed Ibsen, compatriot of Oscar Wilde. They had the same play agent in New York, Elizabeth Marbury. Elizabeth Robins is an extraordinary woman with an extraordinary story, although she wouldn't like me saying extraordinary. And if you want to know why, Google that. Elizabeth Robins.
My next choice was the fabulous Linda Marlowe, for all her energy, commitment, and her deep, beautiful voice, and the fact that she still goes around watching plays and does her own one-woman shows. And who else would put up with Steve Burkhoff?
My next choice is the actress.
Never work again.
My next choice is the actress Deborah Grant. Deborah Grant I met when I was at school because she was the mother of my friend and another actress, Miranda Floy. And I used to go and see Deborah Grant. I saw her in Private Lives, I saw her in Present Laughter. I was a teenager, I remember taking my little sister along, and she was an actress, and I went to her dressing room afterwards, and she was incredibly encouraging to me, and she knew I wanted to be a performer, and I'm very grateful. Small things that people say when you're kind of 17, 18, I'm sure it just sort of doesn't really mean anything to them, but I took her words to heart because I admired her so much. And I remember when I was sat in my dressing room at the windows, I wrote her a note and said, "Thank you so much." And she made a big impression. Brilliant actress, and made a big impression on me, and was generous and kind. And I'm proud to have fulfilled her confidence. However lightly it was said, it meant a lot to me at the time.
No. Number 81, my next choice was Franca Rame. Political activist, writer, actor, and she was a member of the Italian Communist Party. But when she came to see me in a show that we were doing up at Edinburgh Festival, she was dripping in cashmere. That's the kind of communist I like. Franca Rame.
My next choice is Josie Lawrence. because she's so brilliantly talented. I love her improvisation. I love the Comedy Store Players, and I have done since I was a teenager. I used to go every week, every Sunday. I've done The King and I. Loved her in Moll Flanders. Went to see her in Moll Flanders, and I just think she's fantastic. She makes me smile. Her musical skills are brilliant, and she should be on everything. And she was a big inspiration again to me as a teenager. She was great. So yes, Josie Lawrence.
My next choice was Pina Bausch from Germany. I've gone a bit international. Wonderful choreographer, wonderful dancer. I saw her at Sadler's Wells many years ago, and she's so brilliant about relationships and about women particularly, and about the relationships that women have with men. And I didn't really want to have this list and not include the wonderful Pina Bausch.
My next choice was Patricia Routledge, who is another multi-talented, wonderful woman, wonderful comedian, strong personality, extraordinary musical theatre career, internationally, I mean extraordinary on Broadway, huge hits on Broadway, and now we know her for keeping up appearances, and we should know her for a lot more than that, because she's wonderful. I just admire her comedy, I admire her timing, I admire her use of her body and her face. And when I've seen her interviewed, I thought, gosh, you sound formidable in a good way. So yes, Patricia Routledge.
My next woman of the theatre is Liz Crowther. I chose her because I was doing a production of The Seagull, and she took over as Madame Arkadina in 3 days. She came in at the technical, she learnt it, and she got in the costume and she rehearsed it, and she was fantastic for a whole load of press on the opening night. She's just brilliant. She took herself at quite a mature age to the Jacques Lecoq in Paris. She lived there on her own for a year, and she did this the year-long Jacques Lecoq course, and she came back with incredible skills, which she now is using to full effect at the Royal Shakespeare Company.
My next choice is the actress Kelly Riley, who I remember seeing in the London Cuckolds at the National Theatre when I was at university, and I saw it 2 or 3 times actually because I really enjoyed it, and I remember thinking she was brilliant, and yeah, she just had an intelligence and an energy about her. She played the innocence of her character really well without overplaying it, and I went there because I was a big Caroline Quentin fan, but I was sort of moved and quite delighted by Kelly Riley's performance. And of course everything else she's done is amazing since then, and I saw her in another one of our 100 Theatre Women, Sarah Kane's, at the Royal Court. But yes, it was for the London Cuckolds. I just have such a memory of that. Thank you.
My next on the list is Katie Mitchell. I believe she is influenced quite a bit by Pina Bausch. She's got great working methods, and I would be very interested to work with her at some point. It's really for Ifgenia at Aulis that I chose her at the National. A whole new world was open to me about the classics and classical theatre. Thank you, Katie Mitchell.
That was amazing.
It was amazing.
And Women of Troy as well.
Yeah.
So my next choice is Noma Dumaswani, who is just a lovely person, very talented. Seen her in a number of things. She was fab as the director in 6 Characters in Search of an Author that Ian McDermott was in, terrifyingly. Yes, really good. And I've seen her reading testimonies from women, for refugee women as well. And everything I've seen her in, she's been excellent. And she's also really nice and lovely and a really good company member. And that's great. Noma, you're fabulous.
Even though she shares bits of my name, my next choice was Carol Churchill. No relation. And I don't think she's any relation to the other one anyway with the cigar. But It's for her play A Number, which I thought was wonderful when I saw it. With Michael Gambon. Are we allowed to mention blokes on this?
I've just said Ian McDermott.
Oh yeah, then we are. Fabulous writer. Everyone knows who she is. Need I say more? They know it's all improvised.
They do, they can tell. My next choice is Judith Bowers. Judith Bowers, who has single-handedly, well, probably not single-handedly, but revived the Britannia Panopticon in Glasgow. If you have not been to the Britannia Panopticon in Glasgow, you should totally go. Fantastic music hall that was hidden for years, and they found this amazing kind of ephemera of musical life. She dresses up, she does turns. She played for me. What's those wonderful pianos called that you push the thing and it plays a pianola? Yeah. She's got a couple of brilliant pianolas that she plays very well. And she said, "There's a pianola whisperer, wouldn't play for me." And then she laid her hands on it and suddenly it sprang into life. And she's so passionate about the theatre, that theatre in particular, and so passionate about trying to restore it, and so passionate about telling its story and the history of music hall in Glasgow and the amazing people who worked there. And yes, I think she's wonderful. Judith Bowers, I salute you and your passion for the Britannia Panopticon.
My next choice is Phyllida Lloyd. I'm choosing her because really, when I saw her Julius Caesar, which I have mentioned before in this vlog, it's because as an audience member, I had an epiphany, which was that we was robbed. I think I've said that before as well. But it really showed me that all these words can be spoken by us, and that's enough for me to include her in our list. That make any sense?
Yes, it did make sense. That's very good. My next choice was Imelda Staunton. I can't think of any reasons why she shouldn't be on the list.
No, she's got to be on the list.
Because everything she does is brilliant. This particular, the reason I particularly put her on was for Guys and Dolls at the National, because after I saw it, and I saw her fantastic Miss Adelaide, I think I just floated across the bridge, gleefully, just walking back across Waterloo Bridge, just wanting to kind of grab people and go and see! It's brilliant! It's fabulous! It's funny, and I'm not normally like that about musicals, but I think she's wonderful. And her Own Sweeney Todd, she's wonderful, and everything, and plays wonderful, everything wonderful. And that Yasmin Eraser thing with the old Vic, she was amazing. Amazing.
Didn't see that.
No, very good. And so yes, Imelda Staunton for all her work. Oh, and Vera, the film, although this is Theatre Women, but my favourite.
And I've just seen her in Good People, and she's just extraordinary. My next choice, because we it's got a ring. My next choice, because we started this on Twitter, is somebody who I only know through Twitter. I don't know their name. They're anonymous, and her Twitter name is Miss L at Pro Wrestling. She highlights sexist and humiliating ads. I mean, humiliating against women and men. It's not just against women that come up for actors. And she's such a champion of us all who, have to go through all this gleeful stuff. So thank you very much for everything you've done.
My next choice is the actress Maxine Peake, not only for her brilliant body of work, but for her political engagement and her commitment to promoting the voices of women. And most recently I saw her speaking at the WOW Festival, and also heard the play she did about the women involved in the miners' strike, and I just think she was great. She said a lot of really sensible things, a lot of very informed things, and I've enjoyed her performances before, and I thought she sounded like a really good person and an interested political person, which is good.
My next choice is Josie Rourke, who now runs the Donmar Warehouse. You may think this is just an extended audition of mine. It isn't. I genuinely like your work. I like the people you employ, and I love the Donmar Warehouse. And the Weir. Thank you, Josie Rourke.
My next choice was Juliet Stevenson, not only for her fantastic acting, but particularly for her work with Women for Refugee Women and her advocacy through her using her powers for good, a bit like the people I study, to draw attention to the stories of women who are held in detention in this country. Yeah, I've seen her a number of times reading verbatim accounts and being part of raising awareness for Women for Refugee Women, and that kind of commitment, compassion, empathy and care is wonderful. So thank you, Juliet Stevenson.
My next choice is the fabulous Irene Handel. What I thought was extraordinary about her was her body of work, of course, but also when I was little, that was the sort of performer I wanted to be. And in our loo, we had this book that she wrote called The Sue. And I found out later that she'd got bored doing this play. Now I've written it, it's called Goodnight Mrs. Puffin, and she was in the dressing room, and she'd written this play when she was 14. So in her 60s, she got it out of the drawer 40 years later. And she couldn't have been 60, could she? See, that's my maths. Oh, God! I'll just carry on. She got it out of the drawer and she wrote a bestseller from an idea that she'd written when she was 14. Now, that's creativity for you, and that's also mining, you know, and rehashing old stories. Good on you. God bless you, Irene Handel.
My next choice was Catherine Pogson, who in fact is one of the people I meant to include right at the beginning and then didn't. Because when I worked at the Globe, she was playing Portia in Merchant of Venice. And I remember, well, a few things. Wonderful performance. I remember at one point, I was stewarding when I was a student stewarding, and I was in the upper gallery, and some kind of tourist helicopter came, and it sounded like it just hovered over the Globe during the Quality of Mercy, during that big kind of court speech thing. And it, you know, you couldn't hear a word. And she came right downstage in the Globe and just kind of took everyone and went, listen. And then just said, I don't know quite how, technique, but just said this whole speech, and you could hear every word, despite this ahead. And then just carried on with the scene. It wasn't kind of, look at me, I did the most amazing thing. She just, rather than being cowed by it or trying to plug on through, I just remember her coming forward, looking at us all, going, we can all hear this, we're all in this building, you know, listen, and said the speech beautifully. And yeah, it was great.
For my final choice in the 100 Theatre Women, I wanted to include another friend. But that's not because they're not good. I would include them anyway, and this is Julia Swift. She was good at the Don Juan as well, but I'm putting her in for the National Theatre and a performance that she gave in Broken Glass at the National by Arthur Miller. Absolutely incredible, and I can still remember it to this day. She's both sensitive and also very, very strong and vulnerable, but also she can be really ballsy, which she was at the Don Juan. So thank you, Julia Swift.
So I ended the 100 Theatre Women realising that I had more women on my list.
No,
and because it had been 100 Theatre Women, I couldn't suddenly make it 103.
No.
But the fourth spot, the 100th spot, is in no way diminished by being split between 4 people. Because I was like, we've reached the end. So, in a 100th place, joined to 100th place,
yes,
we have Eva Moore, who was, remember the actress Frances Egan, one of the most wonderful, compassionate, politically active, interesting, caring women. Eva Moore, wonderful. If you get hold of her autobiography, it's called Exits and Entrances, and it's brilliant. And her work's just great. And most of the stuff I write about in my PhD, I'm quoting Eva Moore.
Have you got it?
The book? Yeah, you can. After I finish my PhD.
Yeah.
The second person in joint place with Eva Moore, can you even imagine a joint place, is Samantha Bond, who's fabulous, who's wonderful, and is currently rocking up in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels at the Savoy. yes, for her support actually of not only her brilliant performances, but her support of my work with the suffrage plays. She directed for me a play called Lady Geraldine's Speech when I put the suffrage plays on at the Union Theatre in 2010. She was fantastically generous with her time and with her talent, and she's the first kind of professional or sort of high profile actress I met after Orchestra in Arcadia, actually, I think. And I said, she said, what's she studying? And I said, I'm studying the Actors Franchise League. And she said, oh yes, Edith Craig, and I've read that book in a surprise. She knew about it. She knew about those women, and she's proud of them. And she does her own, kind of use your powers for good thing as well. And I think she's great. And I very, very much valued her generosity in supporting my trying to get their story out to the public. In joint third place with Eva Moore and Samantha Bond, how could you? But another woman, Caroline Astor Burt, a puppeteer, wonderful puppeteer, and I included her because when I was working, I did work for 5 summers in orphanages in Romania, working with special needs at children who were kind of on the autistic spectrum or very institutionalised, and I was doing drama with them, and some of them didn't have language capabilities or weren't using the language capabilities, and I decided to work with puppets, not puppets that spoke, but just something, a communicative tool. And Louise Gold, one of the other women, pointed me towards Caroline Astor Burt, who, with her fantastic book, gave me some ideas. I went with her to a workshop she was running with children and really opened up a whole world of using puppets in a professional but very generous kind of communicative way in order to communicate with these children and young people I was working with, and they were a fantastic success. And I used puppets in year 2 and then year 3 and year 4 and year 5, and then we ended up making puppets, and they were wonderful, and it was all from the seed of her work and her passion as a teacher, as a communicator, and as a professional puppeteer. A really precious time, and I was able to use that to good effect. And then in 4th place, how could you match even more Samantha Bond and Caroline Astor Burt? But it has to be
in 4th place of the 100.
Yeah, it has to be Penny Horner, who runs the Jemma Street Theatre in Piccadilly Circus, where I did approximately 90-100 million late night magic shows as Ada Camp's pre-spawning. That's not good, is it? The lovely Rita. Penny's brilliant, passionate, acerbic, intelligent, caring, just great. And I admire her passion for theatre, I admire her passion for work, I admire her professional kind of ethics, and I think what she does there is brilliant. So Penny Horner completes the list of 100 theatre women. And thank you for all your suggestions.
Yeah.
This could just go on and on. In a way it should, you just had to make it sort of...
And it's important to say that the suggestions are not ignored and not that we have taken them on board. It's just that they're your suggestions.
Yeah.
And we may not have seen those women in theatre. That's right, isn't it, I would say?
Yeah, and it's just about kind of recognising the people who've really made an impression on you, and those people who've made an impression on you.
And it's really valued.
It's really valued, so thank you for your contributions, and please keep them coming.
Keep them coming.